While the world was engulfed in the fires of World War II, another war was being waged. This was not a war of armies clashing on battlefields, but a colder, more insidious conflict fought against civilians. It was a tragedy born not from the chaos of combat, but from a meticulously calculated, state-sponsored ideology of hate. This systematic plan, implemented by the Nazi regime to persecute and ultimately eradicate entire populations, would come to be known as the Holocaust. It's a difficult subject, but one we must confront to understand the depths of human cruelty and the importance of remembrance. The persecution didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual, insidious process. It began with stripping people of their fundamental rights, their citizenship, and their dignity. Laws were enacted that isolated Jewish people from German society, barring them from professions, public spaces, and schools. Their businesses were seized, their synagogues burned, and their very identity was criminalized. This was the first step in a deliberate campaign of dehumanization, designed to turn neighbor against neighbor and render a vibrant community powerless. Following the loss of their rights, millions were forcibly removed from their homes. They were herded into overcrowded ghettos, walled-off sections of cities where they were confined under horrific conditions. In places like the Warsaw Ghetto, hundreds of thousands were crammed into a space meant for a fraction of that number. Starvation, disease, and random acts of brutality became a daily reality. This wasn't just neglect, it was a strategy. By deliberately creating conditions of extreme suffering, the regime aimed to weaken, demoralize, and break the spirit of its victims, preparing them for the final, horrifying step of the plan. Life in the ghettos was a constant struggle for survival, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, even in the face of unimaginable despair. Yet, it was a prelude to an even darker chapter. The Nazi regime then established a vast and intricate network of camps across occupied Europe. These camps served different purposes: forced labor, transit, and extermination, but they all operated within the same system of terror. Millions were packed into cattle cars, often for days without food, water, or sanitation, and transported from ghettos and towns across the continent. For many, the journey itself was fatal. Upon arrival, families were torn apart. The infamous selections took place on the platforms of camps like Auschwitz-Birkenau, where SS doctors would with a flick of a finger decide who would be sent to forced labor and who would be sent immediately to their deaths in the gas chambers. This was the final solution to the Jewish question, a chillingly bureaucratic euphemism for mass murder. It was an industrial-scale operation of annihilation. The regime employed the full power of the state, its logistics, its engineering, its administration, to create an efficient apparatus of death. Detailed records were kept, resources were allocated, and the process was continuously refined to maximize the number of killings. This wasn't the frenzied violence of a mob, it was the cold, detached work of a government that had declared an entire people unworthy of life. The efficiency and scale of this bureaucratic system of murder set the Holocaust apart from any other atrocity in history, revealing a terrifying potential within modern society. The numbers are difficult to comprehend, but we must try. By the end of the war in 1945, 6 million Jewish men, women, and children had been murdered. That's 2/3 of the entire Jewish population of Europe, wiped out in just a few years. Entire communities, with their unique cultures, traditions, and histories stretching back centuries, were obliterated. But the persecution did not stop there. The Nazi ideology of racial purity targeted many other groups. Millions more were systematically killed, including an estimated 200,000 to 500,000 Roma and Sinti people whose genocide is often overlooked. Polish and other Slavic peoples, considered an inferior race, were also murdered in the millions. Political opponents, communists, socialists, and trade unionists were among the first to be imprisoned and killed. Hundreds of thousands of disabled persons were euthanized in the so-called T4 program. Jehovah's Witnesses and homosexuals were also persecuted, imprisoned and murdered for refusing to conform to the regime's ideology. When Allied forces began to liberate the camps in 1944 and 1945, they were confronted with scenes that defied description. They found skeletal survivors, piles of corpses, and the chilling infrastructure of mass murder, the gas chambers, the crematoria, the warehouses filled with the personal belongings of the victims, mountains of shoes, eyeglasses, and human hair. The soldiers, many of whom were battle-hardened veterans, were shocked to their core. The photographic and film evidence they gathered became irrefutable proof of the Nazis' crimes. These images forced the world to confront the reality of what had happened and ensured that the perpetrators could not deny their actions. The liberation of the camps marked the end of the killing, but for the survivors, the trauma would last a lifetime. Many had lost their entire families and had no homes to return to. Their struggle was far from over. In the aftermath, the world grappled with how to bring justice. The Nuremberg trials were convened, where high-ranking Nazi officials were prosecuted for war crimes and crimes against humanity. This was a landmark moment in international law, establishing the principle that individuals could be held accountable for atrocities committed in the name of a state. It affirmed that following orders was not a valid defense for participating in genocide. The trials meticulously documented the scope of the Nazi crimes, creating a historical record that remains vital to this day. While many perpetrators were brought to justice, many others escaped, hiding their pasts and living out their lives in freedom. The hunt for Nazi criminals continued for decades, a testament to the enduring pursuit of justice for the victims. So what can we learn from this dark chapter of our history? The Holocaust stands as a profound and solemn warning. It demonstrates how prejudice, hate speech and discrimination, when left unchecked and amplified by the power of a state, can escalate into unimaginable violence. It began with words, with propaganda that demonized a group of people and ended in gas chambers. This shows us the danger of indifference and the critical importance of speaking out against intolerance in all its forms, no matter how small it may seem at first. The path to genocide is paved with the silence of bystanders. The Holocaust is not just a historical event. It is a solemn reminder of our shared responsibility to protect human rights and dignity. It compels us to remember the victims, to honor the survivors, and to educate future generations. Memorials like Yad Vashem in Jerusalem and the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., serve not only as places of remembrance, but also as centers for education, ensuring that the lessons of the Holocaust are never forgotten. By studying this history, we arm ourselves with the knowledge to recognize the warning signs of hatred and to build a future where such an atrocity can never happen again. It is our duty to remember, for the sake of the past and for the future of humanity. Thank you for watching this important video. If you found this content meaningful, please like, share and subscribe to our channel for more historical analysis. Remembering history is our best defense against repeating it. Take care and see you next time.